At what time should the Messiah have manifested himself in Israel? Was there a prophetic time or something like that?
Not yet.
That the prophetic time would come. Shouldn't there be a single historical event that fits like Daniel's prophecy of 70 weeks?
No, there is an event that has been written. Ezekiel says that when the trees of Israel bear fruit, that is beautiful fruits, it means the redemption has begun. It's the sign.
What you just shared in Hebrew about the fruits of the Messiah, that when there are fruits in Israel,
No, about the fruits of the land of Israel. Ezekiel chapter 37.
how would we understand that fruit? What kind of fruit would the Eternal One be talking about when he says that when the land of Israel bears fruit?
It says, "You mountains of Israel, your branches will bear fruits."
Pari.
All right, to not overthink it. Something like that, okay? So we don't have to overthink the explanation. If this is a metaphor for human actions, no. So we don't really overthink it, right?
I mean, what I'm saying is if in Genesis or Bereshit, the Eternal asks, what does it mean to be born from the earth? A tree? Knowledge? Where would the fruit of good and evil be? And we know that's metaphorical. How can we interpret this in Zechariah?
In fact, it says that everything came from the earth. He also created the animals. So we should think that's why, then we should think that also from the earth. When it says that the mountains of Israel will bear fruit from their branches. So it has to be, and the verse from Ezekiel 37 says from the branches, right? But then why do you say from the earth? It must be because Genesis says Israel has animals.
No. No. That's not the point I'm trying to make. What I want to focus on, the point I want to make is whether it's being said metaphorically or if it's being spoken spiritually. I mean, from the inside out, it's not that he's saying there would be sticks in Israel. Some sticks give apples, some give pears, and some give fruit. Instead, we must view it spiritually. That's the question. When it says it will bear fruit from the land of Israel, would it be talking about, is it that the people of Israel would bear spiritual fruit or that the trees would bear fruit?
Are you asking me again?
Yes, do you understand what I mean? Well, let me explain.
Ezekiel 37 says, "And you, mountains of Israel," etc. It's referring to fruits. All right.
Yes, but what I want to make clear is that the word,
I understood you, and I think I answered, right? Maybe it's a metaphor about I understood you, and the answer is that it refers to fruit.
okay. So when the people of Israel have fruits, that is vegetables and fruits, that's when the coming of the Messiah will happen.
When the land of Israel starts to produce beautiful fruits again, it's the sign that redemption has begun.
That's where I want to focus. Because if we base ourselves on the land of Israel producing beautiful fruits, like referring to fruits, whether it's watermelon or pear, or the text wouldn't make sense.
Watermelons don't grow on trees, but I get you.
I mean, what I'm trying to say is, let's suppose apples, pears, and all these things. Let's suppose it wouldn't make sense for the eternal Hashem to say that when pears or apples grew in Israel, it would be a sign of the coming of the Messiah, the arrival of the Mashiach.
Why not?
Or it wouldn't have a way, it wouldn't make sense.
Why not?
It wouldn't make sense.
Explain to me, why not?
You're taking the text literally that it has to be fruit, and I'm making it so.
I'm taking what it says and you're trying to say what it doesn't say, and I'm asking you, why wouldn't it be what the text says?
Yes, because I'll tell you why. How often has the Eternal told us, my people were unfaithful? My people. Of course, I'm not saying this as a criticism. No, not at all. My people were unfaithful to me. My people turned away from me. My people turned away from my statutes. So, referring to that, now we would say that when the people of Hashem bear fruit by doing Haga or Teshuva, to put it that way,
Okay.
it's just that we have to see what acceptance really is. when my people accept, when my people return, when my people unite, when my people come back to me. I'm just saying this based on the text, not out of disrespect, since I've joined your likes before, and I don't want that either. Like, oh, the one who wants to be right? No.
Don't apologize. Can you get to the point?
If we base ourselves on the Torah or Tanakh, there are many texts where the eternal Hashem says, "My people are far from me, my people." So I would rather think when the eternal.
Okay, let's stop there. 1 second. Tell me a text that says that, and then after saying that doesn't say that God will bring them back to their land anyway.
Well, that's just logical.
The Israeli people must all return to their land.
Tell me, where does it say that the condition for returning to the land is when everyone fulfills the mitzvot?
When I do what?
When they fulfill the mitzvot, that is the commandments.
Yes, but not all the mitzvot are directed only at men. There are also some for women.
When the people of Israel, men and women, fulfill the mitzvot, they can return. I mean, about this topic, the very one you and I are discussing, there is an ongoing debate among the sages of Israel and in the Talmud about whether redemption depends on certain factors. How do you say it? On the actions of human beings of Israel or not? And at the end of this debate, they concede the point to the opinion that says it does not depend on whether Israel does Teshuva. For your information, Israel's redemption doesn't depend on Teshuva. This is actually a deeper discussion, as it says there are two options for the coming of the Mashiach. Either im be'achishena or im be'ita, that is, the Mashiach comes in a good way, if we all do Teshuva and behave well, or im be'ita, which means in a difficult way. And this brings very well-known verses for many, which are Zechariah 9 and Daniel, which is that he arrives like riding on a donkey, that is. He arrives gently, he arrives. It's the redemption in which everyone does Teshuva. Or, as in Daniel, he arrives as the Mashiach with power and by force. That's a well-known discussion. In the end, he arrives simply because he does. Whether we do mitzvot or not, okay? So it doesn't depend much on that. It depends, but it's not the main factor.
It's just that I don't want to like say, I mean, I don't want to like I want to be a bit more precise in what I want to say. If you tell me that's not the reason, then the question is, what's the logic behind it? What's the logic behind it? Why are the people of Israel so dedicated to the Torah? What's the reasoning behind it? What's the point they're aiming for? Where do they want to get to? What's the goal? What's the objective they're aiming for? I mean, where do they want?
From my perspective, the goal is for the world to be better. In fact, the prophets already say that people around the world will accept it and there will be peace and all this utopia. And that we believe that for an orderly world, what gives us these guidelines is the Torah. And the purpose of fulfilling the mitzvot is to fulfill the will of Hashem, which he expresses through the mitzvot. They are the code that lets us create this world. First, second, to your question, doesn't it make sense that fruits appearing would be the redemption? It does make a lot of sense. And I'll give you the proof. This land was barren for 2,000 years. It was a desert. You can read any botanist, historian, or chronicler who visited this land during that period. And they write, there are no fruits here. There is hunger here. It's desert-like. That is Najmanides, who escapes from Catalonia and comes to the land of Israel. We mean 1270. He writes, that land is barren, but will yield to its true owner. When the true owners, the people of Israel, return to Israel and gather there, the land will bear fruit again after a long period when it did not. When did Israel's land bloom again? Coincidence? When Israel's people returned, we began working the land. I say we returned because I've also worked the land. I was a farmer in Kibbutz Sim, Kibbutz Eliab, and Kibbutz Gania, working and plowing the land. So when we came to plow the land, to bear fruit, the land bore fruit. And that's because the land of Israel did not yield to the Persians, nor to the Mamluks, nor the Ottomans, nor the British. And it did yield to us, the land. It did give us fruit. Why? Because the prophet said that when redemption begins, the sign will be that the land of Israel produces fruit. To me, it makes perfect sense.
Oh, I understand what you mean, but I mean, seeing it seeing it and feeling it, no. Or is there no agreement?
Don't you see that the people of Israel, for 2,000 years, we were scattered, persecuted, voiceless, and powerless. And suddenly, against all odds, we built a country. We became a superpower in the span of 7 decades. We are one of the, I don't know if the nation, but the people, the minority with more influence than many people, want to follow the Torah. Not because of us, but because Hashem acts through us. And we share what Hashem gave us in this literature with the world. The Jew was once the most trampled, but now it's us. They try to bring us down and they put in effort, but even so, we still we don't let them, and we get closer and closer to what the prophets said. Imagine a Jew from 100 years ago thinking that the Jewish people would have Jerusalem as their national capital. That was crazy. 100 years ago, that was unthinkable. 80 years ago, they were cremating, they were putting our grandparents in gas chambers. In Europe, it was unthinkable, or for a child in a ghetto in Poland to think that the Jews would ever have an army. Impossible. Today, it's possible. Why? Because the prophet said so.
No, I don't see it as impossible because David, if we look at David, if we look at Shaul, hey,
What are you saying?
Abraham. So Joshua raised his hands, son of Nun. We're an army
You're going way too far back.
from now on.
Let's go a bit further, but not too far.
Israel has an army and all these things. And if we talk about Jerusalem, well, Jerusalem is that naturally it's a fact that Tanakh reflects that it is greater Jerusalem, that is, it has always been just one.
Your sound is cutting out. Your sound is cutting out, but I want to say I'm glad. You have a great idea because,
An elevated or exalted expression.
yes, let me tell you that I'm very glad. Really very glad.
What's more, it's metaphorically, it's literally. How do you interpret this?
Let me tell you that I'm really glad that for you it's as clear as day that this had to happen. Israel returning to Jerusalem, having an army is clear to you. Why? Because Joshua and David. So I'm glad that people like you have a very clear idea, which allows you to see what we Jews also knew for 2,000 years. For example, I don't know, Jews were persecuted during the Inquisition and tied to stakes for not accepting Christianity. And while the Inquisition was about to set them on fire, they would ask, "Do you accept Christ?" And they would say no. I don't accept him because the Mashiach will come and things will change. And because of that, they were burned. So for people like that, and like you who are very clear about it, I give them a round of applause. For a child trapped in a concentration camp during the Shoah, things weren't so easy. For many, yes. For example, we know about great people like Rabbi Eliashiv, and they sang cheerfully. I mean, the songs he used to sing. I fully believe the Mashiach will come, even as trains arrived at Auschwitz. Yes, there are people, but not always on a national level. It was clear the exile would end, and it did. Because, as you said, it's a promise made to us, and more promises remain, like the rebuilding of the temple and others which will be fulfilled. And well, I'm glad we had this conversation. If you don't mind, I'll bring others to discuss the topic of fruits in Ezekiel 37.